So, I would like to introduce our first presenter, Carolina Lipinski. She's from Haven Global. She's an established intuitive reader and medium and coach who has conducted readings for over 25 years. Carolina hosts meditations and has written and produced meditation CDs and is also an energy healing master. Carolina will be discussing various forms of spiritual communication and offering billet readings to the audience. Please welcome our local Carolina Lipinski.
Thank you. Thanks to Kathy and the team for getting everyone together to raise their vibrations and traveling the different towns around our beautiful Niagara. You've probably had a chance, I've had this so you probably had a chance to read it. So does anybody know who said it? Any guesses? Okay.
Is it Einstein?
You're right! Yeah. Oh, we have a winner! I'll tell you what it is later. So, click. Yeah. I have my techie persons who...
Yeah, it didn't click.
Okay. There we go. Okay, all right, there it is. Okay. That was if anybody didn't get it, so let me have a good student here. So yeah, he was, he's always been a favorite of mine because his other quote is imagination is more important than knowledge, and that goes a ways with someone so brilliant. So I've always looked upon him as well as so many other people that have inspired me on my quests over the years. Of course, my own belief and growth of a will. And I'm of the belief, if you don't like something, don't complain, do something about it. So I've held many jobs and hats, but the intuitive side of me has always been there since I was a kid. And I was lucky enough to have a mother that understood that. So as I grew, I studied more, and of course I had my day job, and eventually I went into full tilt. From Trendy Bistro, where I also started readings and healings there as well. We had people in I think it started about 30, then we went to 70, but in the restaurant just kind of doing massages and everything else, so it was kind of cool. To a holistic gift shop for many years, and which I just closed after almost 20 years, so I could spend more time studying and working with my intuitive readings and energy healing in classes. So listening to the still small voice within is important always, and of course meditation, knowing the self and getting in touch with your spirit guide. That doesn't always show readily, but it's time. And of course guides as well as angels, so they're a big part of my life. Oh, and I forgot to say click. Okay, but you know. All right. That was supposed to be that one, but that's fine. We'll just leave it at that for a while. Well, actually, you can click again. Usually I do it, but it was hard to be up here and do it at the same time. Tonight I'm going to be offering billet readings, and this is a French word for letter. And so I think a number of you wrote down on a piece of paper a question, which I will use my intuitive self, and maybe there might be a guide or two that'll come through. And mentioning that too, sometimes spirit comes in to visit when at an opportunity like this, when we're gathered. And it may not answer your question, but because there's this moment that you're in this state, we can get in touch with each other, they might give you a message that they feel is needed. So don't be too quick to say no, because it could be a message for you that may make sense now or later on. Or sometimes if it's about somebody else, you might go home and say, that doesn't make any sense. Then someone says, but remember that person? That could be it, yeah. So just kind of keep that in mind. So we'll be doing some of that, and later on we'll be also doing some table tipping. I have an old picture from a book, a very good book, and this is another way of spirit communication. Actually, we're going to be using this table here. It's about table movement. Has anyone ever I know a few people have. But I'm going to be asking for volunteers after we do the messaging, so you can kind of get up and kind of try it out. So it'll be enough, I think, for about definitely 4 or 5, we'll see. And Lynn is going to assist me with that, so we'll have anchors at either end. So you can ask a message, or we can see what spirit is here. So it could be a guide coming through, or a message of some sort. So you don't really know, if you don't know about this, you don't really have to know anything except just kind of relax, deep breathing, how we were doing, that was wonderful. And just with serious intent. Serious intent goes a long way. And now click. Okay, we're not going to do this tonight, but I just thought I'd throw it in. I'm just going to talk a little bit, and then we'll get into the messaging, about ways to communicate with spirit. So seances is a way of making contact, usually with the deceased, to gain answers or messages, sometimes to find out truths that lay dormant, that the poor person had to take to their grave, or to get answers of where you're living, could be on sacred ground. So a group of people, as you can see, are gathered, and it's usually led by a medium, and in a quiet, dimly lit environment, because it offers less distraction. So this way spirit can come through a little bit better. And a lot of times apparitions are luminous in that kind of white glow, and they are more visible when they're in the shadows. So, and I can agree with that, because I have seen that. Click. Auras. I'll just get out of the way here. And this is, I'm just going over this because we're going to be using a lot of this when we're doing messaging, because this is part of you too, it's your energy. So I think a lot of you probably know, but I'm just going to briefly go over it. It's a number of layers of light, expanding outward from the physical body, usually about 6 inches all around, but highly developed masters like Buddha could be like 6 miles, like there's no end. So that's, your aura is kind of like your blueprint, so to speak, and it can change depending on how you're feeling. It could change due to illness, it could change due to happiness. So there's negative and positive, and they emit from different people. And there's also a Carolina camera, I think I'm pronouncing that right, photography that can take pictures of the aura. I have a picture of myself over there from a couple of years ago if you want to look at it later. So that's all part of us, and when you are sensitive you can see it or feel it too. So and sometimes you might see someone and say, or you've heard of kind of a dark aura, so maybe they're feeling depressed, and kind of pick up on that. Or it could be someone that's just like a canary, just all brightening, you know, so it changes everyone. But it can always change. We always have choices. And click. Here we go. Okay, and I'm just going to mention the Clairs because this is all part of the messaging. Clair is also a French word. They're pretty good at all this stuff. They have a lot of different things going on way back in the 16th, 17th century. And but it's still alive today. But clair means to see. I should say clear means clear. And clairvoyance you've probably heard of. And voy means to see. So clairvoyance is clear seeing. And sometimes a person, such as Leanne, very gifted, that can see and pick up on that, see a form. Clairaudience is clear hearing, and sometimes that's like a little whisper in your ear. Sometimes I get a message, it could be a rhyme or even a song, but it has some bearing on what the person is dealing with, or something to do maybe with their question. So it just kind of comes, and that way, and I think clairsentience is one that we probably all use and don't always think about it, but clairsensing, and you just kind of sense, oh, I don't want to go in that restaurant, I just get a feeling it's not going to be comfortable, or I don't want to shop at that, or whatever, a place or a thing. And claircognizance is that clear knowing And that's that gut feeling, you know, when you just kind of know. And a lot of times we dismiss it because we think, oh, but I should be doing this. But you know, the claircognizance is saying, don't go down that road. And then you get there and it's all full of construction. So you know, I should have done that. So a lot of that. And just briefly, clairalliance is clear smelling. And I think this is something we've all experienced. When you pick up an aroma, or you just, maybe in a meditation or in a reading, a person might pick up a scent. Whether it has to do with a fond memory or a person that you think very dearly of, or it could be a place, and you just go back into that zone. So this is all part of our mind, and speaking, while we're talking about the mind, quick, brainwave activities. This is going to be very brief. I won't go through all the cycles, I'll let you read those, but you've probably heard this, the beta is when you're wide awake, and that's 75% of our consciousness. And the alpha is like a light trance, so that could be daydreaming, looking at clouds. I used to do, you see kids doing that and get lost in. One of my favorites is a bonfire, staring into the fire, you see forms. It's a good way to meditate. Or just watching the leaves turn. There's so many ways to meditate. And, but we won't get into all that right now, but I just find the outdoors is just wonderful. So a lot of times we go through all these and we kind of feel differently. Now theta, is the light sleep, or when you're in meditation, when you just kind of go off and you just kind of, that's why meditation is so important. When you're sitting in the dentist's office waiting to be next, if you can kind of just have a little chant in your mind, and it kind of helps to go into that light trance. And delta is the deep trance, whether it's someone doing channeling or when you're sound asleep. So that's when you're not aware of what's going on around you. So like Edgar Cayce, the Sleeping Prophet, probably a lot of you have heard about him, quite a brilliant man. And quick, thank you, Lynn. Charlene did such a great job in deep breathing. I won't go through it all because, but I just thought this is also a good way to just kind of relax. And it can get you into a trance if you're doing some meditation at home. Some people say, I don't know how to meditate. Well, you don't really have to know how. It's just a matter of relaxing, finding a quiet spot, doing some deep breathing. That is kind of like our energy running through us. And you can go into that alpha stage, that light trance, when you might even get a feeling a little lightheaded. But even if it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, just to calm down, whether you're chasing after kids with the dog or just need a break, it's kind of nice. It's always good, as Charlene was saying, to breathe from the belly. So I won't go into all that because you did it so nicely. And while we're talking about that, psychic energy, and I think there's a picture there of, I think most people know about the chakras, the Kundalini or the serpent power starting at the base of the spine. So this is where a lot of our energy comes from, and sometimes if we're going through some stuff, whether it's some negative stuff, you might see a brown spot where the green, the heart center is, if somebody's going through some sadness or whatnot. And every so often the chakras, their colors change. So we have to get them cleared. So that's something to think about if you're finding, why do I feel like this? Sometimes you just get blocked by life and certain situations. And you can go to see someone, or once you learn, like we were doing with the clearing, you can kind of visualize and do it yourself too, just taking that moment. So everything's vibration. We're all vibrating. We're vibrating right now. And so it's part of like physics and sacred geometry. And lastly, spirit guides. Quick, thank you. As we were talking about guides, they're usually in the fourth dimension and beyond. But humans exist more in a third dimension reality, and Earth seems to be that way. There's a lot of people that are moving beyond the third dimension. Guides can enter into our energy field, and if they're blocked, it's more difficult to make a connection. because the chakras may be out of alignment. And a lot of people that can see that too when they're doing healings. Meditation, chanting, when you see the monks chanting, and you just get lost in that. It's a very good thing to do when you're in pain too. You just get lost in the sound. I don't know, I live on Black Creek, right near Safari Niagara, so I hear the gibbons, which are the little monkeys, and and then they all get going. It's like a big and when I first moved there, I thought, what's going on? What is this? You know, and then they go on, and the one starts and then the rest, and they just keep going for about 5 minutes, and then it's over. But I think they're raising the vibrations. So yeah, so we hear it. We hear the lion in the morning, and yeah, so we wake up to a lot of nice, interesting sounds. But meditation and chanting are very good, and such as Om, the universal sound of calmness, and it helps to raise the vibrations to a higher level. So, as it says, practice and patience. Even if it's just 5 minutes, you know, and then see how far you want to go after that. So that being said, I thought we could maybe do a group Om, just kind of raise the vibrations in the room. We've already raised them with some chanting, but why not do one more? So is there anyone up for it? Okay, so if you want to get up and stand up, or if you just want to sit, whatever you want to do, you can just follow my lead, and then we'll get started with messages. Okay, so we'll just do it 3 times, just to kind of open it up. Okay. All right, so just take a deep breath and.